Good morning, dear people of the internet. I hope you are all doing very well on this gloomy morning. I don't know if it's gloomy where you're watching, but where I'm filming, it is currently raining. Not cats and dogs, but maybe puppies and kittens, if you will. It's raining outside, and I love it. I love the rain. I'm possibly one of the few people in Germany who actually really enjoys rainy weather. But that's because I'm not from here. I didn't grow up with this weather. I grew up with sunshine, and a lot of it. So whenever there's a gloomy morning and everything is grey outside and it just feels like you want to make yourself a cup of tea, or hot chocolate or coffee or whatever, and curl up in bed with a book or with a movie or with a hobby like, I don't know, drawing, knitting, anything. I love that kind of weather. Also makes me really inspired to write often, but today I'm not here to talk to you about writing. I'm here to talk to you about reading because I have read some books, and so I want to talk to you about them. I did a video close to the beginning of September about my TBR for Shorty September, because it was the first year that I was participating, because it was the first year that I knew that it was a thing. And also I had a couple of short books at my disposal, and I have also not read that much this year, so I thought, what better way to challenge myself to read more books than to try and read as many short books as possible in 1 month. Did I read every single one of these short books in the last 3 days of the month? Absolutely, yes I did, with the exception of one of them. One of them I did actually start at the beginning of the month. Sorry, tea break, but it is a poetry collection, and poetry collections, you can't read them that quickly because you do need to take time to digest the poems and to let them sink in before you move on to the next one. But that said, I did read all 3 of my books on my Shorty TBR list. That was a mouthful. And I also finished the book that I was busy reading before, which was not a short book, which was the first book from Jack Edwards' Inklings book club, Evenings and Weekends by Oisín McKenna. So maybe I'll start with that one, just give you a quick rundown. The book is set, I think, maybe on a weekend. I'm not sure if it only takes place over the course of 1 weekend, but I feel like it's probably a week. The course of 1 week-ish in London during a heat wave. I don't know why the during a heat wave part is important, but people keep mentioning it. I didn't find that it stood out to me that much during the book. Maybe I was just not paying attention enough. I obviously did notice that they were mentioning the heat and the heat wave, and there were like signs in the people's houses that they were in a heat wave and that it was warm. But other than that, I don't really know what the point of the heat wave was. Oh gosh. But the book starts with the news that a whale has washed up on the banks of the Thames River, and everybody is baffled by how this happened, and the whale sort of keeps popping up throughout the story, but it's set in London with a group of friends and family as they go about their lives, really. I don't know. People seem to be really amazed by this book, and it is a good book. It's not bad at all. I just don't entirely get the hype. But what I will say is, I'm not somebody who enjoys multiple points of view in a book, generally. But if you are going to do multiple points of view, please do it the way that it was done in Evenings and Weekends, because that is actually an enjoyable way to read multiple points of view. It didn't feel like I was breaking up the story. It didn't feel like you were repeating the same events just from somebody else's point of view, which is often the case with multiple points of view. And I don't know, it just kept the flow of the story going way better than any other book that I've read with multiple points of view. How many times can I say multiple points of view in this video? Anyway, so all in all, it was an enjoyable book. It's an enjoyable story. Then, my shorty September TBR list. I started with the only physical book in my collection, which is Evenings I Lie, which is I Have More Souls Than One by Fernando Pessoa, which is the poetry collection. When I started reading this collection, the first section of this collection did not wow me. I was not that intrigued. I really thought I was gonna like this man's poetry, and now I'm slightly disappointed. But the more I got into it, and as I read the different sections, I did actually start really enjoying it. And I want to see if I can find... I did end up dog-earing. You can't really see it because this book is so tiny, but I did end up dog-earing quite a few pages and underlining quite a few lines. This is one of my favorite poems from this collection. It is called Master Serene. Master, serene are all hours we waste, if in the wasting them, as in a jar, we set flowers. There are no sorrows nor joys either in our life, so let us learn, thoughtlessly wise, not to live it, but to flow down it, tranquil, serene, letting children be our teachers, and our eyes be filled with nature. And if that is not just the most beautiful, that's not even the whole poem. There's like one and a bit more pages of this poem, but that is my favorite part of the poem. And if that is not, like, what the heck? How beautiful is that? Also, I noticed while reading this, a lot of his poems, especially in this one section, are about death and living your life to the fullest, or kind of not worrying too much about your life, which I found really interesting. But a lot of his poems are about death in this collection and in this very specific section. But they're all really good. Another small section from a very long poem called Tobacconists. The first 4 lines say, I am nothing, never shall be anything, cannot will to be anything. This apart, I have in me all the dreams of the world. And I loved that line. This apart, I have in me all the dreams of the world. I love the contradiction of just saying I am nothing, but in me I have everything. I love this guy's poetry, apparently. I think I'm going to be buying more of his poetry if I can find it. I don't actually know what other collections he has, and I think he's Portuguese originally, so I don't know. It's translated by Jonathan Griffin. Yes, he was born in Lisbon, Kingdom of Portugal, in 1888 and died in 1935 in Lisbon, Portugal. So I don't know if a lot of his other poetry has been translated to English, but if it has, I will be reading it. If I read Portuguese, I would buy it in Portuguese, but I don't speak Portuguese, unfortunately. Maybe I will one day in my life, but at this very moment I don't. The next book I read was Killing Stella by Marlen Haushofer. This book was the whole reason I decided to do this shorty TBR or shorty September challenge, because I heard about it on Renee's channel. It's called The Left-Handed Reader. She spoke about it in one of her more recent videos, and I thought the concept sounded really intriguing, so I decided to get myself a copy of it on my e-reader, and I read it. It was an interesting read. I don't really know, the last 2 books in this that I'm going to talk about, I really don't know what to make of them, because both of them are short stories and both of them are very strange. But Killing Stella is about a family who gets asked by one of the mother's friends to look after her daughter for a year while she goes to school. For that year, for some reason, this young daughter has to, or well, she was a teenager, 18 I think, and she was going to do some course near where this family lived, I suppose. And her mother is kind of an absent mother. Her mother is more interested in her young boyfriends and traveling the world than looking after her own daughter. So she asks her friend to let this daughter of hers stay with them for a year while she completes this course or whatever it is she's supposed to do. And this family says yes, even though they don't really want Stella here with them. They don't really want her to come stay. And when she does arrive, they're all very strange around her. Like, the father pretty much straight up ignores her until he doesn't. The son doesn't really know what to do with this girl who's now in his house. Also, the mother doesn't know how to communicate with her, really, even though she has her own daughter, but her own relationship with her own daughter is fraught. She is very much more into and gets along better with her son. And the daughter is very young, so she kind of just goes along with this story. She doesn't really know what's going on. She just accepts the fact that this other young woman is now in their house. But safe to say, things go wrong, which is why the story is called Killing Stella. And yes, the only way I can really tell or think to describe this book is that it reads like an art house movie. Like, if you were to go and watch one of the strangest, most independent art house kind of films with just basically no plot, just vibes, only imagery, nobody really explaining to you what's happening, that's how I would describe this book. And if you're into that, by all means read it, because it is kind of interesting. And the way that I actually really like the way that Marlen writes, because she doesn't really tell you anything, but she insinuates just enough for you to figure out everything that's happening on your own. And I really enjoyed that part of the book. I do want to read some of her other work, her longer novels, to see if it's the same kind of storytelling, or if this was just because it's a short story that it's a little bit more weird. But yes, so there's that. Then, lastly, I read Paradise by Edna O'Brien, which is about a young woman who gets into a relationship with an older man. He is well-to-do. He has a house somewhere on the coast of some country. Probably France, maybe Spain, somewhere like that. And he invites this young woman to come and visit his villa, house, mansion thing, along with a group of his friends. And one of their main activities is going out on his boat and swimming in the ocean. But this young woman doesn't know how to swim. She was never taught how to swim. And so throughout the story, she is being taught how to swim, so that at the end of the story, she can basically swim in front of all of these people to prove that she knows how to swim. It's kind of a story of trying to fit in with people who are not your peers. And obviously, the people in this story are of different classes as well. This young woman is not from the same, she's not quite upper class enough for all of these other people. And so she's trying to fit in with them, even though she realizes that the guy that she's in this relationship with, this man, doesn't even really like his own friends and it just entertains them. And she realizes that even he would prefer to just spend time alone with her, but he feels obliged to entertain his friends for the summer. And that's really all I can tell you about that story, because otherwise I would give away some things. What I often find recently, which is very strange, is that with both with the things that I'm reading and also the movies that I've watched recently and the series that I've been watching, I find the side characters far more compelling than the main characters. There, in this story, Paradise, there is a character called Iris. She appears for one paragraph only in this whole story, and she's by far the most interesting person in this whole story. I need to just hold on. In this whole book, in this whole story, I only highlighted that one paragraph where this character appears. This character is called Iris, and it describes her. It says, her personality was like that too, full of glow. For each separate face she had a smile, and a word or two for those she already knew. One of the men asked if she was in love. Love, she riled him. She said her good spirits were due to her breathing. She said life was a question of correct breathing. This Iris character is by far the most compelling and the most interesting character in that whole story. And the fact that she was only there for, okay, maybe not just one paragraph, but like maximum 3 paragraphs, tells you all you need to know. Yes, I don't know, that's all I have to say about that book, really. So there you are. That is my wrap-up of the books I've been reading lately. I'm currently in the middle of White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and I'm also still reading Z, a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald by Therese Ann Fowler. I will finish that book one day. I promise. I will finish it at some point. Hopefully soon. Maybe I'll spend some time today reading it. But that's all I have to say to you for now. Thank you for being here. I will see you all again when I see you. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully it won't be too far in the future.